Hello and welcome. If you've downloaded this webinar, you're obviously interested in changing your career or taking Pilates teaching as your new career and maybe making a huge pivot in your life. I'd like to congratulate you before I even begin for even taking this bold step and making that decision to even consider taking a pivot in your life and understanding really here that Pilates is such an empowering career to have. Teaching Pilates gives you so much self-love and self-fulfillment because you're there as a caregiver and you are helping so many people. Now, this webinar that I'm teaching today is about how to prepare yourself for Pilates teacher training. And it's really going to help you pivot your way to making Pilates into your new career, teaching Pilates as your new career. So, how do you prepare for your teacher training? So, great, you've decided to become a Pilates teacher. Well, before you even go through your training, it's very important to prepare your body, your mind, and your spirit for learning new experiences. For this is a life-changing experience. So your whole physical body, your mental state, and your life will change just by taking the teacher training course with a view to teaching Pilates as a career. It will help you both in your personal and professional journey. You will see self-progress, you will see that you're deepening your Pilates practice and you're learning more about yourself. So in this short webinar, I will share with you the best tips to help you prepare for your Pilates teacher training. So Pilates teacher training can have many, many benefits. It can truly be life-changing because at the end of the day, if you feel that you're a caregiver, it gives you the most rewarding career. I have been an accountant. I was an accountant before I even considered going into some other practice. That was my first career. And then I understood whilst I was working that accountancy wasn't for me. Corporate life was not for me. I really needed to be pulling a way out of it. And I found Pilates, first of all, I started practicing Pilates as a practitioner, as a client, and I found the benefits of Pilates. I found within weeks my body started feeling good, and then I felt changes in my whole aura, my whole personality, due to the fact that I was practicing Pilates regularly. And truly, for me, it was life-changing, and I am sure that it will also be for you. So what is the first thing you need to start doing when you're actually considering to become a Pilates instructor? What is the first thing you need to consider? The first thing is to start practicing. So having your own Pilates teacher practice. Okay, so if you have your own practice, then you're going to start experiencing the benefits of Pilates yourself. You're going to start experiencing the absolute amazing benefit of bringing the method into your body and feeling the method into your body. So if you decided to go on a teacher training course, you probably have some kind of knowledge of Pilates. Although I have had some of my own students joining sessions without any prior knowledge of Pilates, and although they did do well in the teacher training course and now they have their own Pilates studios, I would not really recommend this to anyone who wants to have a plain sailing journey to become a Pilates teacher. So really practicing Pilates, feeling it in your own body is going to be hugely beneficial for you and for your practice, for your teacher training. So as you know, prior practice is going to be very, very beneficial. And if you could practice it like with at least 2 months in advance, that would be very helpful for you. Practicing on the mat and the apparatus, this is important because I would not recommend that you only stick to one type of Pilates. I wouldn't recommend that you only stick to mat work. Mat work is only a very small part of the method. So at a Pilates teacher training school, you should be practicing Pilates for hours on end, and you really need to be physically equipped to handle the sessions that you're going to be doing during your teacher training. So I would really recommend that you take the mat classes, the apparatus classes, and if you don't have a Pilates studio nearby, then do follow online videos to get some practice, and also to get an idea of what classical Pilates is in comparison to contemporary, and which one resonates with you the most. The first level of teacher training is generally gentler on the body. Well, I know my teacher training is gentler on the body, because we get to learn a little bit more about the history of Pilates and how the Pilates method that we practice today has evolved, came about. And it's also very good to know which type of Pilates you are actually practicing. So, as I mentioned here, having an idea of classical Pilates versus the contemporary Pilates is going to give you an idea of actually which type of Pilates am I practicing and which one actually resonates with me the most. So, there are a few different styles of Pilates, and some people may only want to start with just teaching mat work. However, mat work, as I mentioned, is only a small part of the movement, and the method should be thought as a system using all the pieces of the apparatus. Why? Because in practicing the whole system, you as a teacher get to identify which piece of apparatus will work with a particular student and how that would help them. If you only have mat work as your tool, you are restricting yourself to a very small portion of people who want to practice Pilates on the mat. And let's face it, it's getting smaller and smaller every day as studio Pilates is becoming more and more popular and people are switching to this form of movement. So remember, when you are looking at teaching the method, you shouldn't look at what you would like to teach. It's not about what you would like to teach. It's really about how you're going to service your client's needs. Now, there are so many different schools out there, and really that's going to throw a spanner in the works, because you're going to think, well, which school is going to be resonating with me the most? Now, the classical schools, so if we look at classical here, the classical schools are mainly influenced by a lady called Romana Krysonovska. Now, Romana was a student of Joseph Pilates who eventually took over the studio and eventually started teaching more and more ballet dancers. It's very, very popular as a practice, very popular with the ex-ballerinas and with the dancers. And then there is a totally, completely different approach, and that is the contemporary Pilates. So you're still teaching on apparatus here, but it is in a very contemporary way. So this method, the contemporary method, is more popular with people like physiotherapists who are teaching Pilates, osteopaths, and also the fitness instructors. They go down this route of teacher training, as well as those who maybe just want to learn a method in a modular form, and they want to learn one piece of apparatus at a time. So it's good for you to try both methods just to see which one actually resonates with you again. So the modular way that is taught in the contemporary system, many contemporary schools teach the modular way, isn't really the way that Joseph Pilates wanted his method to be taught, as you're still diverting away from teaching the method as a system. In fact, you tend to find that many contemporary schools veer so far away from the method as taught by Joseph Pilates that it is no longer Pilates. It is just exercises performed on Pilates apparatus. Now, if this appeals to you, and then hey ho, that's all good. But remember, you're probably not teaching Pilates. So the Pilates industry is essentially divided between these classical and contemporary worlds to a certain extent. And as a Pilates professional with over 20 years of experience in the industry, I can understand why there's so much confusion for the new teacher. So the classical schools can seem too rigid and elite, and the contemporary world can flow too far away from the original intentions of Mr. Pilates. So many classical teachers are now understanding how the world is changing. We are no longer working during Joe's times. We are not dealing with the same postural issues, and some exercises in the classical repertoire can actually hurt some clients in the long run. Likewise, in their aim to make the method a little bit more funky with some original movements, some teacher training programs are really veering away from the Pilates method. So for marketing purposes, still claiming to teach Pilates, but they're really not, yeah? So what's been happening over the past decade or so? Okay, well, classical schools started losing popularity. This is over the past 2 decades, and the contemporary schools were actually booming. Now, in order to move with the times, many classical teachers, including my own teacher, the late Bob Leekens, who was a student of Romana Krysanovska, have continued to teach the classical method, but where necessary, they created some modifications to the way the exercise was taught. Now, I'm not saying that they completely changed the exercise. No, I'm just saying that they taught the same exercise with maybe a different position in the feet for different alignment in the limbs. In fact, they're actually going back to the way that Joseph Pilates taught. What am I trying to say here? The classical world is mainly popular with dancers who have been in turnout for all their lives since they were little children practicing their first position of ballet. So, the first position of ballet is with the feet in that V position, and that puts a big strain in the lower back, in the SI joint. Now, what happened here is that I know many Pilates teachers who are my age and have been practicing Pilates for the same time as me, having problems with their lower back, compressing their lower back. And that is because the compression on the SI joint has happened through continuous use of positioning with the Pilates V. Now, teachers like Lolita and Bob changed the foot position back to a parallel position. And now Lolita is actually claiming that this is the way that Joseph Pilates actually taught. And it was Romana Krysanovska that changed the movement. So that's why it's important for you to choose your educational facility wisely. And after you have done your research, really make sure that you are going to a school that has the knowledge and the ability to give you the best Pilates teaching. Now, this brings me on to step 2, which is researching Pilates teacher training courses. So, there are tons of Pilates schools out there, and it can be overwhelming to choose the right teacher training course. Before you decide on a course, ask questions to organizers. Ask questions to maybe other students and compare courses. You can follow these videos on my YouTube channel, which are going to help you understand a little bit more on the type of questions that you need to ask before you can finally make your decision about your teacher training course. So, the first thing to really start understanding when you're researching these courses, you have to choose the best Pilates teacher training for you. So it needs to fit your needs and expectations. There are many other factors you should consider, such as the style of Pilates that's being taught. And maybe the support that you're getting before the course, during the course, and after the course, and the ability to teach on different pieces of apparatus, and the price, for example. Some people actually are price driven, although price driven can actually be detrimental in the long run for you, because as much as I do, that the cheapest course might not actually be the best course for you. So the more you'll know about the program you choose, the more prepared you'll be to complete your training. The location is also one of the most important factors to consider. So do you want a full immersion into the Pilates method? Then a Pilates teacher training retreat is probably your best option. If you're looking to find a studio local to you, but you have discovered that the level of education doesn't meet your requirements, it would be best to leave it for now. Don't shortchange yourself just because the options locally to you are more convenient. You will regret the decision very soon. And if you're finding it harder to travel to a location for your tutorials, you might find that maybe you want to be doing the course in the comfort of your own home. So you'd opt to take the online option. So, okay, that's available to you. You could take your online course, but I'm going to have to pre-warn you. They might be the most economical ways for you to obtain a certificate, but they don't compare in the slightest to the in-person courses where you get to feel the exercise and practice teaching with fellow students. This experience alone is worth its weight in gold, and you should not short circuit your learning experience just because it's not convenient to travel, or perhaps you feel that you don't have the budget. There are many Pilates teacher training facilities that offer payment options, including my own school. Now, the next thing you have to consider when you are looking to take up your teacher training is to take a functional anatomy course. Now, many Pilates schools don't even have this requirement, but take it from me and my 2 decades of experience. Having a basic understanding of anatomy, biomechanics, and kinesiology, and also functional movement is really going to help you understand the teacher training tutorials, and it's going to help you understand how to apply what you know to the Pilates method. Now, at the time of my own teacher training, none of this existed. There were no anatomy courses unless you went to university and you're doing biology or physiotherapy or physical fitness education. Nowadays, thanks to the internet, we're able to short circuit ways to learn about the human body in a faster and more efficient format. A serious Pilates teacher training school would expect you to have a basic knowledge and would perhaps offer their own functional anatomy course. My academy, Anita Academy, offers specific functional anatomy courses for Pilates teachers or those who are looking to become Pilates teachers, as I continuously refer to Pilates exercises during the course with the view to help you understand anatomy and movement and help you put what you learn to real life practice. If you want to learn more or subscribe to this 20-hour course, here is the link. And as a thank you for watching this small webinar, I'm happy to offer you a 20% discount off the price. So just use the link webinar, use that code webinar at the checkout, and then you'll be able to get your discount there. Now, when you are going through your Pilates teacher training, you might start to get maybe doubts. Maybe you think, have I made the right choice? Is this the right course for me, etc. So to prevent you from getting through those doubts, I want you to have some clarity in your intentions. This is before you even subscribe to the course. So knowing exactly your intentions for taking this course is one of the best ways to prepare for your Pilates teacher training. You should have your own personal goals for attending a training course, and if you want to do it, you should be doing this for yourself, not for anybody else. Now, this is very important to set your intentions before the course and to know why you are doing it. Okay, so you should spend some time actually reflecting on your reasons for wanting to become a Pilates teacher. And I even suggest this as a tip: really reflect deeply on why you want to become a Pilates teacher. What is so important for you to learn, and what's motivating you to become a teacher? And I really suggest that to do this, you can get into the habit of journaling every day, and you can join a Pilates teacher training course even if you don't want to become a Pilates teacher. So I've had numerous students who have done that, and they have deepened their knowledge of Pilates and learned more about their own bodies and about themselves as individuals. Now, whether you want to use your certification to teach or not is actually not that important. Yeah, so you can decide whether you want to use your certificate after you qualify or not. So the next thing is going to be very, very easily, right, take care of yourself. Pilates teacher training is not easy. It's physically demanding, mentally demanding, and emotionally demanding. So it's very, very important that you do start taking care of yourself even before you take your course, right? So If you're going to be doing an intensive week, which is most courses are running on intensive weeks nowadays, you have to be physically and mentally ready. Some course providers offer the weekend option for teacher training, but really that option tends to tie you up for a long period of time, and you'll find you will burn out easily because you don't have any break. You just completely 1 week in, 1 week out, 1 week in, 1 week out. You're continuously traveling back and forth to the Pilates studio, trying to learn your tutorials. Then you find that what you've learned last week, you've forgotten. So it's really not as efficient as doing a deep dive, a deep intensive. Now, before you attend your training, try to eat well. Make sure that you are consuming good, healthy foods, and get in shape and practice mindfulness. Try to sleep well and let your family and friends know that you're taking good care of yourself so they can support you in the process. Now, it's also wise to tell you that physical injuries can happen in Pilates teacher training programs if the student is not prepared and they convince themselves that they must be able to perform the same exercises as their peers who have probably been practicing the method for years. Now, it's never happened in my school, it's never happened on my watch, but I feel it's my responsibility to tell you that unless you have been practicing Pilates for a few years or a few months, and you attempt to do the more advanced exercises without prior practice, then you're more than likely to be creating some kind of overtension in the muscles, and you don't want to be injuring yourself. So what I truly suggest here is that and a good teacher trainer will know when to stop you if they see that you are perhaps struggling to perform a specific exercise. Being a great teacher does not mean, or doesn't even have to mean, that you're able to practice the exercise perfectly in your own body. Everybody's different. So you've got to learn at your own pace and listen to your body. So it has nothing to do with being able to perform an exercise perfectly. So, I had to put the caveat here. Nobody's ever got hurt in my teacher training, but I have seen it happen in other courses. So if it is a possibility that you're going to get injured during the training, then see it as an opportunity to learn a lesson, and then see how that's going to help you to modify or perhaps deal with a person or a student in the future who has got maybe similar issues as yourself. How would you deal with that student who is maybe struggling with a particular piece of exercise or piece of apparatus? Yeah. All right. Now, I said, you could possibly get injured during teacher training. I'm being super honest. I'm being super transparent. I am not trying to create a very airy-fairy scenario, and then you'll find when you get to the teacher training, you're overwhelmed and you are feeling that this isn't the right place for you. I want you to go ahead with your teacher training program, having known all the facts and then being able to make the right decision. Now, no profession is an easy ride. Absolutely no profession is an easy ride. That's why I wanted to make you aware that unless you have practiced Pilates for a while, you might find that some of the exercises are going to be a little bit too hard for you to practice. And what I'm trying to say here is that it's not going to mean that you can't do it and you can't do the teacher training. Far from it. I just want you to be aware that at the end of the day, you're trying to learn a whole method in possibly a year or two. And if you've never practiced Pilates before, doing the advanced exercises takes a lot out of you. It really does. And I'm just being super honest with you because I feel that it's my duty to you to be able to show you and open your eyes to exact situations with Pilates teacher training. Now, I've also put here preparing yourself for overwhelm, because you know that my aim for this little webinar is to be super transparent. I am not going to say that it's going to be a bed of roses, but if you know these little bumps in your journey, then you know that you're going to get there happier. You're going to get there in a more pleasant way, and you're still going to get into your destination healthy and fulfilled, because you have had this, you're going to have this sense of achievement because you have finished your teacher training program, but you have managed those times of overwhelm because you were prepared for them. So without further ado, let me just explain a little bit what happens during teacher training and why there is sometimes a sense of overwhelm. Okay, so yeah, expect to get some tears. Expect to get some tears. Expect to cry a little bit. It is a part of Pilates teacher training. You might even go through all sorts of emotions. You might go through lots of discomfort, fatigue, and being totally overwhelmed. They're very, very common. But that's because you're going through a very rigorous program that's going to be physically and mentally demanding. And when tiredness kicks in, when you start feeling a little bit tired, then you're going to start feeling that the emotions are going to start showing up. And yeah, it's not a nice place to be in. But once you are aware of it, then just acknowledge it and say, fair enough, I'm in this place, and it's very important to share these emotions with the others who are in the course with you. Remember, you're not alone. Other people are also going to be going through it. Okay, now if you have a decent teacher trainer, if you have somebody who has already been there, because we've all been through it, it's all very, very rigorous. It's a lot of hard work in your physical body and your mind, and you know that someone else has already gone through it, and they're going to be able to help you and to give you that support that you need, because the peers are going to be feeling the same way, and you're going to be guided by professional teachers who have already gone through it, and they've gone through this process before you, and they know how to help you. So we all have a tendency to avoid our emotions, and during your training you're going to have time to deal with all of these repressed emotions, and it's good to let it all flow. It will be beneficial for you and your training to let it flow. Pilates teacher training provides a safe space for you to express your deepest feelings, your secrets, and your emotions. Now, you can't do a teacher training course without reading more about Pilates and reading more about who Joseph Pilates was. This is an extremely essential part of your teacher training journey. Usually students who want to do Pilates teacher training are familiar with the Pilates exercises and the practice of the method. However, you should know that you'll also have to learn some ethical guidelines of the Pilates philosophy and learn about the creator of the method, Joseph Pilates. Joseph Pilates was a complete eccentric guy, amazing genius who wasn't given credit in his times. And it's only in honor of him, to learn about him, to know that you're going to be making his method part of your career. Your career, you're going to be earning income from something that he has created. Now, I could recommend tons of books to read if you want to prepare for your teacher training. But in my own teacher training academy, I am offering these books here. So we've got the Pilates Primer. Okay, so this one is the Millennium Edition. It's called Return to Life Through Contrology. This was written by Joseph Pilates. Also, Your Health by Joseph Pilates. Anatomy of Movement, and this revised edition is by Blandine Calais-Germain. This is a very good book to actually teach you a little bit more about anatomy, how the body is moving, so functional anatomy. In doing an audio course and doing a visual course, if you're following a video, it might be actually be more beneficial because you're actually following a course through online. If you're a visual person, reading a book might take you a little bit longer to understand, but this was a book that I also studied when I was doing my teacher training years and years ago. So this was actually published, my goodness, a long time ago, but it was revised recently. Okay. This book by Esperanza Aparicio Romero and Javier Perez is Joseph Hubertus Pilates. It's been given a lots of credit in the industry. Amazing book, a very amazing book. Talks about Joseph Pilates, talks about the life, and talks about the method. What I'm really trying to say here in this list is that these are very good suggested reading. I'm not expecting you, and I don't believe that you could read all these books before your teacher training, but these are just guides, okay? And this last book, it's a recent book by friend Kathy Strack. They all go to Joe's, and this is all about the elders, the Pilates elders, the very few teachers who have taken Joe's method as it was taught to them, and they've gone off and created their own teacher training programs and opened up their own Pilates schools. So this is the most recent one. There is also another book that I can't seem to find here, but it's actually, I'm sure I've written it down. It's called Caged Lion by John Steele. It's not in the notes here, but I've noticed that it's not in the notes, so apologies about that. It's Caged Lion by John Steele. John Steele used to be Joseph Pilates' lawyer. So John Steele knows a lot about Joseph Pilates' history, but also all the incidents that have happened after Joseph Pilates has died. John Steele is still alive, is an elderly gentleman now, but nonetheless, he has given us a really good account on what happened during the time that Joseph Pilates was alive, and then after, and with the Pilates method after Mr. Pilates' death. So they're all suggested readings. If you do not have time to read any of them, the two that you really must read are the Pilates Primer and Your Health. You really must read those two because those were written by Joseph Pilates. So the next thing is to learn how to use the Pilates apparatus. Now, the best ways of preparing for your Pilates teacher training is to actually take sessions on the Pilates apparatus. Now, this will make a huge impact on the style of Pilates you would want to learn to teach. As I mentioned earlier, some Pilates apparatus, although it looks similar, will not feel the same, and it will completely change the exercise for you. So, for example, in the classical world, if we have to have a look at the reformers, you see you've got two images here of two reformers. And you're going to see this one is a classical reformer. The manufacturer of this one is Gratz. And then there is a contemporary reformer. This is made by Stott. Now, the classical world uses this reformer with leather straps, as you can see here, and wooden handles. So it's also quite rigid. It's leather strap. It's quite the leather in it doesn't give much. Yeah, it's like a leather belt. Whereas in the contemporary reformer, if you can see here where the orange arrow is, it's got risers. It doesn't even have leather. It's got a rope. Okay, it's got loops and pulleys, and it's got the high riser. So you've got the risers here. These go up and down, whereas in the classical world, in the classical reformer, there's nothing here at the back, which means that if you're holding the strap with your hands, the angle of the strap is coming from below. Whereas on this one, because it's attached, the rope is attached to something higher, okay, it's got the riser, it's going to make it easier for them to start doing the same exercise. So they could actually be doing the same exercise, but because they have this riser, it's actually assisting the exercise. That's something that we offer in our teacher training, and Anita Academy teacher training program. The comprehensive will teach both. It will teach you, this is how you teach it on this piece of apparatus. But if you happen to be in a studio that has got this kind of apparatus, these are the adjustments that you would need to do to the apparatus so that you can make the exercise as original as possible. Okay, now, as I said, if you're lucky enough to practice on different brands of apparatus, you already have a personal experience, and it's going to save you some really precious time during the Pilates teacher training. So you're going to be able to develop your own skills faster and avoid these small technical issues. Yeah. So that's why it's important for you to practice on different pieces of apparatus and gain the exposure to the classical and contemporary pieces if possible. Now, having the natural knowledge of the difference between the two is a great way for you to learn more. So at first, you're going to discover the apparatus by yourself. You're going to discover learning on the apparatus and feeling the work in your body before you even do your teacher training. And then you're going to be learning about it during your teacher training program. So when you start the Pilates teacher training program, they're going to show you different ways to use your apparatus. Now, moving on to another more philosophical part of basically information that is very important for you to be aware of when you are planning to become a Pilates teacher. Basically, there's this whole element of unknown in whichever course that you take. So even if you have been to university, if you've been to college, you know that you'd have an outline from your course provider. You'll have an outline of what the course is going to be about. And any decent school, any decent Pilates teacher training school, or any kind of course that you take should be able to give you a good outline and to give you an understanding of what to expect from the actual course. But you have to also realize that when you start Pilates teacher training, you should really know that what you're going to learn is going to be new. So you're going to be learning new things every single day, okay? So some days might actually fly away, whereas others are going to completely drain you out of your own energy. And it's important to understand that you might actually feel overwhelmed one day, yeah? You might feel this is a little bit too much. And there is a lot of unknown in the schedule that, you don't know what's going to happen in that particular day. So don't focus too much on getting 100% ready. Yeah, of course you should try some apparatus and you should learn some exercises and you should read a bit before you start your teacher training journey. But you should also leave some mystery. It's actually in the best moments when you are actually doing your teacher training that you're actually going to be learning the most. So in the moment where you feel a little bit of vulnerability, maybe you're feeling, I'm not able to get this, or you're feeling that this is becoming stressful, or you're feeling that there's one particular exercise that you feel that this is your Achilles heel, you just can't crack it. This is the time where you're actually learning the most, because you're just going to keep practicing, you're going to be asking the questions, and you're going to really learn about your body, the apparatus, and how to apply what you learn to teach other people. So be humble about it. Really do be humble about it. Okay, next along is all about preparing yourself to go and do your course. So it's very much about really getting yourself ready to go on your journey to get your teacher training. So if you plan to take your teacher training in a local studio or online, you don't even need to worry about this one. But if you do plan to leave home for a few days or maybe weeks, then you must make sure that you pack everything you need. So there are some essentials to pack that you shouldn't forget if you want to make the best out of your Pilates teacher training. Now, I made a quick list with the main essentials that you shouldn't really forget. Now, the first one is Pilates mat and towel. So yeah, so you're going to say to me, well, hang on a minute, I'm going to be learning in a Pilates studio and Pilates apparatus. Why should I even take a Pilates mat with me? Why should I even carry it around? Well, it's not an essential, but it's great to have if you want to practice in your hotel room or maybe your host bedroom before you go to your training. Maybe you do want to do a few stretches in the morning, or maybe even before you go to bed at night. So it's great just to have that mat with you, just to have a little quick mat workout before or after your training day. And the towels, of course, if you are traveling and you go to a hot country and you do tend to sweat when you're working out, it's always handy to have your own towel, just in case your course provider doesn't actually supply you with any. Next along on the list is medication. Now, if you're going abroad for your teacher training, then it's always interesting to have some medication with you in case something does happen. Yeah. Now, I'm not talking about like if you are on normal medication, that's not relevant. But I'm talking about maybe taking a small tube of deep heat, or maybe a small jar of Tiger Balm in case time to feel tight, or maybe you've pulled a muscle and you just need some quick release. So having this little extra there in your case is just something that is just a quick fix. You're able to deal with your issue straight away without having to look for pharmacies, especially if you are in a country that you're not familiar with. So next is actually nourishing yourself. So you have to make sure you nourish yourself. You're going to be working hard and you need to nourish yourself. Now, hydrating yourself is also super important. I didn't put it in there, but I'm thinking it's a no-brainer. You need to be taking some water with you, and make sure that you have access to good drinkable water, okay? Because not all tap water is drinkable. So just make sure that you check that with your host wherever you're staying. Now let's go to nourishing yourself. So it's important to really carry with you some snacks, some protein bars, granola bars. Now, a little side note about these snacks and the proteins. Now, I'm suggesting that you take them with you purely because the country you might be traveling to might not be able to supply your favorite snacks. So if you have them with you, it's great just to take them with you. I remember my son traveled to Kilimanjaro, and he was advised by the team at the university. He went with the university team. They advised them to pack their snacks, their nourishment right from the UK. So they packed lots and lots of, he actually took boxes of the protein bars and the granola bars with him. And it was quick, easy food just to nourish him. And it is really going to give you some quick energy after doing practicing workouts and obviously studying for a few hours. And that was the same thing that my son did when he went to Kilimanjaro. Now, next thing here is your insect repellent. Again, if you go to another country, the weather would probably be different than at home. So you want to avoid any bad bug experiences. So I highly suggest you bring a bug spray with you. Yeah. Next one is quite an important one, and it's light clothes and layers. So you know that when you're practicing Pilates and studying all day, you're going to be feeling hot when you're actually working out. So you need to take your clothes off. And then when you are just observing, or maybe you're going through a tutorial where you have to sit down, you might start feeling cold. So make sure that you have layers, make sure you have a good few layers to keep you warm when you need it, and take them off when you feel that it's too hot, right? Okay, next and last on the list is a Kindle or a book or your Audible on your phone. I suggest you bring these with you, or download an easy and quick book to read, because between an intensive session and a long day of study, the last thing you want to do is study more about Pilates. So it's always nice to relax your mind without thinking too much. So go ahead and switch off and just look at something completely different when you have finished your day or in between your sessions. All right, so I really would invite you to prepare yourself for an amazing experience, an amazing teacher training experience. This is going to be a life-changing experience for you. I recommend you to practice Pilates for at least a month before attending the Pilates teacher training. If you already did so, then you know how impactful this activity is on your life. Pilates teacher training can be truly life changing. It will help you deepen your practice, but also change the way you think. You will see the world in a different way with more opportunities to grow. Now, after learning about Pilates and yourself so much and practicing the method regularly, your life will be totally different. If you've noticed a change in your life since you've started practicing Pilates after this experience, you'll never be the same again. You will want to learn more about the method and about yourself. And if you're still hungry to learn more, the next step is ready and it's waiting. What is the next step? The next step is for you to become that Pilates teacher. So, some final tips for you. Practice before you go. Take it as a life-changing experience. Believe that your possibilities are endless once you certify. The world is literally your oyster. There are so many possibilities. The industry is booming, it's growing every day in, day out. There's more and more people becoming teachers, and there's more and more people getting attracted to the method and wanting studio Pilates. Never stop learning, never. Even once you've got your certificate, my advice to you is just to continue studying. Really, truly, the best teacher is the forever student. And of course, own your future. This isn't just about becoming a Pilates teacher. This is about changing your life, pivoting your life to a new direction, to something that you've always desired. And I hope that this will become a truly rewarding experience for you. I can talk from the bottom of my heart. I can talk from my own experiences and the experiences of the people that I have been lucky to touch and to work with, because every person that I've worked with has felt the benefit of the method, has taken it on board, and they have gone off and helped other people themselves, and they're doing some amazing thing themselves. All right, so the bottom line is you have to know what to expect and prepare yourself for a life-changing experience, guys. Now, the most important thing here is to speak to your teachers and begin your learning process now. Okay, you really need to start your learning process now. Now, before you book the course, make sure you do take some Pilates practice and take care of yourself and read some good literature, and of course have some decent clarity in your intentions. That's very, very important. Then once you've chosen your course, contact your teachers to know what to expect and prepare yourself for an amazing experience. If you're watching this little webinar as an already qualified teacher, I'd like you to just think about this and honestly say to yourself whether you were prepared before your Pilates teacher training. And if you're still considering to become a Pilates instructor and are wanting to learn if our teacher training program can help you and maybe it's suitable for you, I'd love you to reach out to us. So here we've got a world of new opportunities. We can give you a new thought process, a new life, a new body, and of course, a new you. Okay? Our next course starts on the 23rd of April 2023. We're forever doing teacher training courses. They run on a regular basis, but spaces are extremely limited. We run Pilates teacher training programs on a retreat format, so we only allow 10 people, maximum 10 people in the group, but we also offer virtual, so live streaming for our teacher training, especially the one on the 23rd. We definitely are offering a virtual live streaming option. If you want to find out a little bit more about the course, just click on this link or copy and paste or maybe follow through. If you look up Anita Hari Academy, then you go through my courses. This talks a little bit more about the comprehensive course 2023, and there's all the information there. You can also catch up with me. You can book a private session with me online to discuss the course a little bit more and to see whether the course is suitable for you. And of course, you have to be comfortable with your teacher and you want to discover how I work and whether we click. I'm available for you to chat with me. So follow the links and then you'll be able to book your appointment with me. Guys, I hope this has been of use for you. I hope that you have learned a lot more about the future of Pilates teacher training and also the important information, really the important information to start prepare you to become a Pilates teacher. So I hope to see you on the other side. I'm sending you lots of love and light.